Hi, my name's Taylor, and I'm here to go through John 19 with you guys tonight and just kind of let you know what kind of stood out to me. Before we get started, I just want to say how awesome this is that we can all do this together, go through the book of John in times that we physically can't be together because of COVID-19. But right off the bat, we see in John 19 that Jesus is given over by the Jews to Pilate, and Pilate is supposedly going to judge him and decide if Jesus should be crucified and killed because of blaspheming and calling himself the Son of God. But Pilate actually can't find anything wrong with Jesus. There's a lot of back and forth, and Pilate actually seems to be on the side of Jesus. And right at the start of the chapter, actually, he sends Jesus to be flogged, and flogging is basically whipped with leather straps, and it's very painful torture. And I think he's hoping that the Jews will see this and be satisfied with that, and then not want Jesus to be crucified or change their minds or whatnot. But that doesn't happen. So eventually Jesus is sent to be crucified. Pilate just says, fine, do what you want, take him. And later on, actually, Pilate puts a sign on Jesus's cross that says, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. And so initially I thought that Pilate was kind of on Jesus's side. But then I read my side notes, and there's actually a lot of irony going on and mockery. He didn't care too much for the Jewish leaders. They put a crown of thorns on Jesus and clothed him in purple. And this is all, they're mocking him. They're trying to embarrass him as much as they can. So my first impression of Pilate was totally wrong. So as we continue, we go down, and Jesus is carrying his cross, and he gets to, what do they call it, the place of the skull where he's going to be crucified. And the guards actually divide his clothes into shares, and they're taking his clothes. And one line that stood out to me, it says his final remaining garment. It says this garment was seamless, woven in one piece from top to bottom. And I just read a book by John Mark Comer, talks about this. And he says this would have been a very high quality garment. He didn't have a lot of things, but what he had was quality. So basically, like, when I think of Jesus, I kind of think of like someone who's homeless, doesn't have a lot, but actually Jesus comes, like, he had a stable job before this, and he had a lot of support during his mission. So as we continue, we see that Jesus is on the cross at this point, and he's talking to his disciples, and he's actually talking to John. And John says it this way. He says Jesus is talking to the disciple whom he loved, and that's how John references himself. He's actually telling John and the disciples to take care of his mother at this point. And it's kind of different because Mary, his mother, had other children, but basically at this point he's saying that his disciples are closer than his brothers. So as we continue, we go down and we see Jesus on the cross, and basically his final words in this chapter, according to this chapter anyway, it says, "It is finished." And if you compare this to other Gospels, it's very different. And that's what stuck out to me, because I know from Matthew and Mark that it says, "Why have you forsaken me?" It's a struggle to kind of deal with what he meant by that. I like this chapter more. "It is finished" seems more fitting to me anyway. So Jesus actually does die on the cross. The Roman guards come and they stick a spear into his side, and blood and water come out. And the soldiers were very good at killing people. They knew when people were dead. This was the day before the Sabbath, so they wanted to make sure they were dead and not still alive the next day. So right at the end of the chapter, we see that a man named Joseph and Nicodemus come and ask Pilate if they can take Jesus' body to prepare it for burial with spices, and they wrap him, and they put him in a tomb that no one has been to. All right, so that finishes off the chapter. I'm just going to say a prayer and then shut these cameras off. All right. God, thank you so much for who you are, how amazing you are, God. Thank you for this amazing book and everything our church is doing, and the churches around the globe in this time. They're reaching out online on social media, creating content that we can learn and grow together, God. I thank you for all the knowledge you've given us through these books. We can read them again and again and learn something new each time. I praise you for this, God. Thank you so much. Be with us. These times are hard, God. We've got so much support, and our government is good and taking care of us, God. But it is difficult being stuck at home, God. Please take care of our healthcare workers and everyone working on the front lines, God. Thank you so much for this. Amen. Bye.